All right. So we're going to talk about the changes to the majors qualifying system, the races. Let's start with where the majors are going to be next season.
Yeah, that's really exciting also for us, to be honest. And we've been going back and forth through this for a while now. So because it's not only important, when and where, but also like what are the distances in terms of days between the majors, right? So we last year I thought we had problems sometimes with a couple of majors being very close after one another, so that athletes understandably did not feel like racing there, traveling, because a couple of weeks later the next major was already happening. So yeah, we had many variables that we were trying to look at, and so now the major season will be 4 major races for men and women. We will start off the season in Amsterdam, which is already quite soon, actually, beginning the first couple of weeks of October. So that will be the season opener. It's a very, very packed event. We will have 13,000 athletes there. And it's most likely going to be a Thursday night race, which is also important to know that due to the changes of the full schedules of the weekends now, we will always keep to having the elite race the night before and have as many people coming to watch the races during these night shifts or late evening shifts. We did do that obviously a couple of times also at the Worlds, and I think it's a great concept. And yeah, hopefully we will see like big crowds showing up for the major races. So once Amsterdam is done, we will pack our things and go to Hong Kong for the second major race of the year. That's at the end of November. So Hong Kong is going to be the first Asian major. Obviously also quite exciting to go into that part of the world. And then that finishes off for 24. In 25, we will start the first major in the US and this is also quite exciting because the city has not even been announced yet, because it's going to be Las Vegas on the 1st of February. Yeah, hopefully also a cool travel destination for a lot of people to show up at the Vegas event, and obviously the major as the big highlight on Friday night. And then the last major of the season will be Glasgow. So also for the first time, we will have a major in the UK, due to the obviously also a Thursday night race. So having a race in the UK with all everything that's going on there is quite cool for us to have that now. And I think Glasgow is going to be a perfect host for the last major of the season. So these are the 4 majors. And then the Last Chance Qualifier is going to be in Barcelona at 6 weeks later, I think. So there's still enough time to qualify for Worlds or even have a break before Worlds, depending on if an athlete is qualified or not.
Okay, amazing. It's a good set of locations.
Yeah, I
Um,
love it. I like it a lot. I mean, we were discussing it back and forth. We were looking at global participation, where are the people coming from? Of course, where we want to have the top 15 male and female athletes at all of these races, right? So, but it becomes more and more complicated to, facilitate the schedule in a way that it works, and especially due to qualification systems that we're talking about in a minute, I guess. Yeah, we wanted to make sure that it's well spread, and especially with currently the amount of people coming from Europe, 2 European races still make sense at this point. This might change at some time, but at the moment, this is the spread that makes the most sense for us. So it was important for us to also basically mirror that in the locations of the 4 majors.
yeah, and like my personal view is that the evening races work really well as well. Like we had it in DC and Vienna last year, and like the atmosphere and everything in the venue for those was a lot better than some of the others, I thought. So yeah, that's good to
Yeah, I
see.
agree. I mean, we did Stockholm in the morning, right? And I mean, of course, you can always discuss that, but But I agree, it's also race day for the other athletes, right? So you don't maybe want to just stick around the venue for like another 4 hours prior to your race. And it just feels like that's the day of the age groupers, right? And the elites are the night before. And I think that's a good separation.
Yeah. Just from a whatever, like a naming perspective, so I know the Hong Kong one, because that's up, is like the Asian Championships. Presumably Vegas is North American Championships?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
Okay. And how about the European Championships? Is that not announced yet, or?
No, the European Championships are not announced yet, but I can spoiler that we will not change much for the European Championships.
Okay. All right. So, and so there's been a few changes to the qualifying process, to get into those majors, and then qualifying from the majors into the worlds. Do you want to talk through some of the changes that you've made to the system?
Yeah, sure. I think this was or is constantly the most important part of what we're doing, and I think it's also important to understand that after last year's announcement of the qualification process, we had a lot of conversations about it, a lot of criticism. People didn't like it, whatever. And it's like I'm trying to explain to everyone all the time that this is a process, and this is also like, developing a sport from scratch, meaning that things change from year to year, right? So we have so many athletes now with quite a few races under their belt. So we can start making real assumptions by analyzing their races in terms of, is a race just simply an outrage in the right direction because someone had a 3-minute faster race than the usual average, or is it the other way around? And comparing all these average times from all the global races, what you luckily also do quite a lot. So analyzing exactly what are the race times of certain races, where is a 1 kilometer lap like we had in Berlin last season, where the times were much faster. So you realize, oh, that's obviously a thing if you don't have to run turns all the time. Which is also something, of course, if we could, we would have 1 kilometer laps in every single city. It's just quite difficult to find the venues that can facilitate that. So there are a lot of things to consider. And with the qualification process, I think, again, the main goal is to have the top athletes in the world at these majors. Either that being because they are so good, they auto qualified, because that's, for starters, that's the first thing we did not change. So the winners of last year's majors are directly qualified for this year's majors. These are on the men's side, it's 4 different athletes, which makes it quite full already because these 4 are directly qualified. And then the top 3 from Worlds, as we announced before, are also qualified for all majors this year. And this rolls down to the 5th spot of Worlds, which brings us on the men's side to the maximum of 7 directly qualified athletes for all majors next season. Because we had, with Michael Sandberg and James Kelly finishing on the podium in Nice, and then Pelayo finishing in 4th, we have 3 people that did not win a major during the season before, meaning they all go up and take the spots for direct qualification for all majors. So 7 athletes are directly qualified. On the women's side, it's a little bit different because Meg Jacoby and Lauren Weeks won the majors. So they take up 2 of the spots from the direct qualifications, meaning, as they also finished 1st and 2nd in Worlds, that we have 3 athletes that are directly qualified for all majors from Worlds, which is 3, 4, and 5, that being Vivian Tefudo, Viola Oberländer, and Linda Meyer. So these are the direct automatically qualified athletes for next season. And now what we changed, and again, I'm trying to explain, we will now have a list again that is based on time, but it's based on the result of the average of the 2 best races over the last 365 days. So, okay, so that's it. And to explain it a little bit more, That means that it's a dynamic system, qualification system, because it depends when you did your two fastest races. Because if your race was 1 year ago, next Saturday, 1 year ago, then next Sunday, that race will fall out of your personal qualification average, and the next fastest race will go in. So the times are quite dynamic. And athletes know, okay, my average is set until this date, because then one of the races falls out. So they know exactly at what point they might have to try to get into another race to raise the average, their personal average again. But they also can see exactly what about the other athletes, when are their average times dropping. So there will always be cutoff dates before the majors, meaning, okay, before, okay, this ranking is set until that day, but then it might change. And we did that, and we did mock scenarios here with various options. And we saw that however you twist and turn it, this is the best way to document basically to have the top athletes at every race, and to make sure that not one specifically good result suddenly brings you into the majors and for all the races. It might get you up there if you have a second time that is close, but it will definitely not get you in immediately if it's only one time. And also, this just sticks for 1 year, and then that time drops. So you might have the advantage for like that period of time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's basically. I mean, first of all, does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying?
That makes sense. Okay. Do you know the cutoffs yet for the majors this season? Because people are going to be trying to work it out now,
No, that's true, and that makes sense. And we did say that we will announce the cutoff dates very soon, because we did not 100% decide on cutoff dates. They were 2 weeks before the majors last year, and we might add another week to that, but we have not finally decided on the cutoff dates. So I have to tell you that we will announce this as soon as we have clearance here.
Okay, and I presume that like on the HYROX website somewhere, it's going to be fairly clear what your average time is, your two best times and everything like that.
Yeah, so on the website tomorrow, Monday morning, this will be visible in the rankings. You can quite clearly see both. You see the person, you see both times of the two races that create your average, and then the most important news, the average times, and it's in order by average time. So people can quite clearly see where they stand at this point.
Okay, great. It makes sense from I understand the reason for it. Do you have any concerns that, there's going to be some people in certain regions that have less opportunity to race, that are going to have fewer opportunities to get those two times?
Yeah, so first of all, it's 365 days. So we looked into the currently top 30, and all of them, 99% of them, have enough times to under their belt currently to at least have an average in there at any point during the upcoming season. So that's what I meant when I said we mocked it. And then, yes, of course, there's advantages and disadvantages. And if you are from Australia, then it's quite far to have the next event once September is gone, because all their races right now are in the Northern Hemisphere summer. When you're from South Africa, then there's literally one race. But still, I think that people have enough opportunities to put a race or two into their racing schedule. And we also have to remember that most of these athletes now are doing this. This is their sport. So I expect most of them to find the time to race once or twice a season if they want to be up there. I mean, this is the other important question that everybody has to answer for themselves, right? But if you want to be up there, then you have to race twice a season in order to get an average into the books. Of course, adding to those that you already raced over the last 365 days.
Okay, all right. And I presume that times in if someone races in a major and gets the time there, that counts towards that future qualifying. Yeah.
Yes, it does. And also there we mocked them. Some majors were faster, some majors were slower. There's then the average time in pro racing. I mean, so there's not really you cannot really say that this is always the case or that is always the case. No, and there I think this goes into your question before. If you're racing 4 majors and the worlds, you have raced 5 competitive races. And I think it's fair to also consider these races and not expect them to run 2 more races just to bring in a time. So I think there it's fair to say that the majors are also pro racing. And yes, I know there are different circumstances. The racetrack is usually free, and there are some advantages, but there are also some disadvantages in terms to the way the rock zone is structured, the running in the rock zone that we're measuring to keep it the same distance than the usual race. You have to run back and forth most of the time on the farmer's carry, for example, that costs time. You have to turn around on the burpees. That's a different thing than jumping around. So I think overall, looking at the stats, it's fair to say that it's not complete nonsense to also take them into account.
Okay. And I mean, I don't know what your plans are like event wise, but would there potentially ever be events that you put on where you say like this one just isn't going to be you're not going to get a qualifying time from this, like because it's outside and it's one lap or anything like that, or not?
Well, I mean, that goes into what I said at the beginning, this being a process. And this is what we're deciding now, and this is for me the next step, and I think it's a very important and a valuable next step. I'm not saying this is what it's going to be forever. So my answer to your question is maybe, because yes, if it's obvious that there are certain races, because we can only have a 1 kilometer lap in 2 destinations in the world out of the 75 events next season, then we might say these events are special, but I don't know. I don't want to say yes right now. But I also don't want to say no. So this is one of the parts of the process that we're going through, where we're trying to always find the best solution for that upcoming season. And if we realize that something does not work, then we're happy to discuss it and change it.
Okay. All right, great. And I'll just explain for the
Yeah,
listeners
sure.
in case it weren't clear that so some athletes have also qualified for these majors. That's seven guys, and then 5 women have also qualified. And then so what we're talking about here in terms of time and the average of the 2 times for the remaining spots. So it's like 8 spots on the guys' side and 10 spots on the women's side can qualify through time, and that's going to be the average of their 2 best pro times over a rolling 365-day period, right?
Absolutely. You put it in better into words than I could. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
All right. And then just to check
one,
for
sorry, one additional thing in regards to qualification for the majors, what we changed. So the winner of a major this upcoming season automatically qualifies for next year's majors as it was, and also for this year's remaining majors in case that person was not qualified before. But no roll downs and not the top 3. Last season, the top 3 qualified directly for the remaining majors. This year, only the winner gets a spot in case that person has not qualified before for the remaining majors.
okay. And then for next year's majors, maybe you don't know this yet, but like, will the winners of this year's majors also qualify for next year's majors, like they have, and then like the top 3 at the worlds as well?
Yeah, so qualification again for next season for the majors, we are sticking to what we have right now. We believe that's a good foundation of awarding athletes for an amazing success. Winning a major becomes a major success now, and I think that's a deserved reward for winning a major. And the same counts for worlds, that if you finish there on a podium, including the roll down, then you get the direct qualification for next year's majors. Again, the goal is to always have the best athletes in the world at the majors and provide these races for the top athletes. Of course, that's a dynamic system that's changing, but I think if you win a major, then you deserve your spot in the top races of the sport.
Okay. And then just a bit of a practical question, but if someone has qualified, how will they know? Will they get an email or something like inviting them to the race?
Yeah, so all the athletes will now get, all the top 30 athlete actually will now get a notification, an email from our global head of sports, Mintra Tilly, that will basically announce them being in the top 30. We will share the rankings and the automatic qualification slots. And then technically these athletes, once the cutoff date is done, they get the official confirmation of this is the race and it's happening. And then they have to sign up for it and go. They don't have to pay for it, but they have to sign up for it.
Yeah. So that's like qualifying for the majors that we've talked about, but then qualifying from the world. Once you're into a major, qualifying for the worlds, there's been some changes there as well. Yeah.
Yes. So last year we had the system with the top 3 spots rolling down to 5, and then having the last chance qualifying races at the end, filling up the spots for worlds. We will change this now and have 3 qualification slots at every major, meaning after the 4 majors, 12 athletes will be qualified for worlds. We will roll down until 3 spots are taken. So in theory, that could mean that number 10, 11, and 12 at the 4th majors are directly qualified for worlds if all 3 winners of the first 3 majors finish 1 to 9. So every major basically delivers 3 direct qualification slots for worlds. And then, and you heard this before when I said last chance qualifiers in Barcelona. So we only have 1 last chance qualifying race, and the top 3 fill up the last spots for worlds, which makes it 15.
Okay. All right. What's the main reasons for those changes? Is it just for simplicity?
It's just simplicity. And again, we mocked this. So first of all, we want the top athletes to race at these majors. So I think it's another benefit for athletes to go, especially for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th major. There's prize money, of course. They have endorsement deals that make them race to a certain extent, but this also now makes it really, really, I don't know, an exciting thing to race at, let's say, the 2nd or 3rd major, even though it's in Las Vegas or Hong Kong, because even if the top 3, let's say on the women's side, because currently it's that Megan and Lauren were leading the pack there. Of course, it was very close at Worlds with Lauren finishing 2nd, but they were leading the pack last season. But them qualifying in the 1st major, suddenly for Hong Kong, that means that everyone behind that has a very legitimate chance to directly qualify for Worlds. And the same counts for the race in Vegas right after that. So yeah, we thought it's much more simple and also easier to understand. We don't have that roll down system anymore. And again, we mocked it from last season, what that would have meant. And you are coming up with more or less the exact same people qualifying for worlds. So again, striving towards having the best 15 male and female athletes at worlds. We thought this is a much more simple and also good and workable solution.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last chance qualifier, that will have basically a guaranteed 3 spots up for grabs, because there'd be 12 definitely taken from the majors. And I guess that looks similar to the last chance qualifier this year in terms of just anyone can enter it, potentially over a few waves that the athletes will be in, and it be the top 3 times that will get the spots.
Exactly. So we will again we will try to facilitate that in a way that we really have everybody who is eligible for those 3 spots, because they believe they can do it, to put them in the first start wave, obviously. Will that always work? I hope. Sometimes you don't know. Maybe there's a completely new athlete suddenly striving towards one of these spots, but we're trying to put them all in first start wave. And yes, then it's 3 spots. It's an open race. Anybody can sign up, and you have the chance to get one of the last 3 spots for Worlds, even if you have not raced in a single major that season, or not even had a race at all before. And then also this is important because that was also one of the problems last year at Worlds, obviously, that we have had this complicated replacement situation for athletes that were qualified and then dropped out. So also to keep that simple, the replacements at Worlds will always be number 4 and 5 from the last chance qualifier. So the Last Chance Qualifier basically is the replacement for if anybody gets injured at Worlds, and then these people would be the people to go into the race. And we will also invite number 4 and 5 for Nice to get them through the whole process of pre-registration, athletes briefing, and everything, as if they were racing. And if nobody gets injured, then they get to race in the age group races, so they are eligible for that race, so that they're not coming just for the sake of maybe racing in the elite race.
Right. And you would limit that to 4 and 5 only. So if they got injured or if more than 2 pulled out or anything like that, you would just run with 14, 13.
Yeah, because otherwise you have to start somewhere, and I think 2 is a quite high percentage. If 2 out of 15 drop out, then it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. And do you know what the prize money is yet for these majors?
Yeah, the prize money will be quite significantly actually rise from we had 42K this year, 21K per race, and this will rise to 30K per race, so 60K overall prize money purse. Yeah, 9K growth, which is almost 45% something. So yeah, this is also again the process of making this a legitimate sport. We want to provide the platform for the athletes to endorse themselves, to get sponsorships, to make prize money, that it's worth traveling to these places. So hopefully we can grow this much more over the next years. But I hope that this growth rate shows also that we really mean this, and we're taking this very seriously.
Oh, brilliant. And every athlete in a major would get some prize money, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what we started doing last season already. We don't want to have a system where we're providing this and that for only the top athletes, basically, because they win all the races. So there will be a spread amongst all the 15 athletes, so that at least no one has to basically cover any costs, so that hopefully travel and hotel can be covered by what is giving out on prize money.
Okay. Live streaming, I presume you're planning to continue that?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is going to be a hopefully even bigger thing now. I think we had, thanks to obviously especially you, Till and Lauren, but we had an amazing feedback last season of the live streams, or at least some of the live streams, let's say that, to be fair. And I think we are also developing this, and we're just trying to get better and do the next step whenever we are meeting with the production team. And this is what we are going to do now, starting with Amsterdam and going from there to Hong Kong, which will be a different scenario again and circumstances. But yeah, we want to grow this. We want to get as many people in front of the television or screen as possible to see the beautiful sport of HYROX and the beautiful athletes and these amazing performances. So yeah, we are growing this to the next level, hopefully.
Brilliant. So I know in Nice, sort of you introduced drug testing for some of the athletes, depending on where they finished in the positions. Like, is that something that you'll continue with this year?
Yes, we are 100% continuing. We are at the moment developing the exact legal policy structures of that. We will have drug testing at all major events and at Worlds also. We will most definitely have it at the Last Chance Qualifier, and we might also have it at a few other events if we believe that makes sense to focus on Elite 30 for now. So the Elite 15 races plus the athletes that are behind that. This will be unannounced at the majors, so we will have 5 to 7 races where we will do drug testing in order to basically have a constant control over the season. Also there, I know I get the feedback, I read the comments. Yes, we hopefully one day we will be able to have this much more and bigger and more consuming more or less of over the entire community. At this point, again, step by step, this is how we're growing this, and we're starting with Elite. So after the inaugural test in Nice, we will now roll this out over the entire season. And I think also it's important for the athletes and everyone to understand that, I mean, I did over like 120 drug tests in my life, being an athlete myself before this life. And you don't see a result, which is a good thing. So the result management is something that you get. If you get a result, you're in trouble. So to maybe also calm everyone down, there will never be like an email saying this is your result, you are negative, and so everybody can calm down a little bit on the result management. You only get that if you're in trouble.
Okay. Presumably there were no results from Nice.
Yeah, this is obviously personal data, but I have not sent out an email yet.
Okay. Okay. All right. Good. Where are the worlds? Are you going to tell me?
I cannot tell you where the worlds are, because we are honestly still in the last negotiations with I think 3 different cities. So yeah, I even if I wanted to spoiler, I honestly can't. So
Okay.
hopefully we will be able to announce this really soon. We set ourselves the deadline end of July, so that's getting close. And yeah, but I know everybody's very excited. I am as well, and we really want to come out with that information, but currently we don't have a signed contract anywhere.
Okay. All right, brilliant. Well, thank you for this. Appreciate it. Excited for the season. The changes make sense to me. Look good. So yeah, can't wait to get started.
Cool, Greg. See you soon, and yeah, let's see what this season brings.